Greetings YouTube, Simon here, welcome to another Final Fantasy VIII Remastered guide video. Today we are talking about farming X-ATM092, aka that spider boss that we all know and love during the chase sequence at Dollet. Now, while the game expects you to run away from this encounter, it is in fact possible not only to kill this boss, but actually farm it multiple times for substantial amounts of AP for your Guardian forces. In fact, every time you defeat this enemy, you get 50 AP. But not only do you get 50 AP for destroying it, you get 50 AP for depleting its health once in battle without actually killing it. So you can actually repeat the process multiple times, and with the ×3 speed boost, which doesn't affect the actual on-screen timer, you can take this guy out plenty of times, enough times to max out your Guardian Force's abilities. However, it's probably not worth your time doing this farm, despite the fact that it's not even that difficult. I'll explain why a little bit later. As always though, a huge thank you to everybody who supports my channel, either as patrons, YouTube members, or as subscribers. And if you haven't subscribed already, you may want to do so. Got a ton of Final Fantasy content on here for you. But let's get on with today's show. Now, before I actually explain my character setup to you, a couple of things to note. First of all, when you first battle the X-ATM092 boss, which is when it jumps down from the communication tower, you can't do anything with it in that fight apart from escape. So do not try and defeat it. Do not try and farm AP. You can't do either. Just escape from the battle. But every single encounter after that point with this particular boss, you have three choices. You can escape as before, which is the way the game expects you to handle the encounter each time. You can defeat the boss completely for 50 AP and an item. It will then be destroyed, so it will not bother you again on your journey back to the ship. Or your third option is to deplete its health once and then defeat it while it's repairing once, and then you'll end the battle by escaping and collect the AP, but the boss won't be defeated, so you can repeat the process. So just to clarify, that latter option, if you want to farm, how exactly it works. This boss has a self-repair functionality, and you need to prevent it from doing that in order to collect the AP. In other words, you need to do enough damage to it in order for it to kind of cripple down, and then when it's in that crippled state, you need to defeat it by depleting its HP while it's repairing. So eventually it's going to stand up again. If it stands up before it's finished repairing back to 100%, then you've effectively defeated it by depleting its HP. You can escape the next time you knock it down. However, if it stands up having repaired itself to 100%, then unfortunately you will need to begin the process again. So I hope that makes sense. The general trick is to do a whole ton of damage to it. And that leads me on to how I have my character set up. Now, quite a few guides over the internet suggest the best way to do this is by having a powered up Quetzalcoatl, and it's true. Quetzalcoatl with the summon magic plus 10, 20, 40%, as well as the boost ability, is going to do a lot of damage, enough to take this guy out. The problem is Quetzalcoatl has a long animation time, which means that you're not going to be able to defeat this guy enough times during the 25-minute timer in order to farm as much AP. So what I recommend is overpowering Squall so that he can use his limit break, Retsukukum, and have that do sufficient amounts of damage to bring him either down to his knees each time you use it, or to defeat him whilst he's repairing each time you use it. It's much faster than the Quetzalcoatl method. You just have to make sure you've junctioned the appropriate magics. There's actually only two junctions that you need to be concerned about. Make sure that Squall has Ifrit, and I recommend giving him Siren as well, and give him Tornado 100 of onto his strength stat, and then junction either Thunderar or Thundergar, again 100 of whichever you use, onto Elemental Attack junction. Now, if you don't know how to get any of these magics by this stage in the game, I strongly recommend you watch my previous video, how to overpower your characters early on, to which I will leave a link in the video description. But once you've made these junctions, and I was just using Thunderar, you don't need the higher powered Thundergar for this, then you will do sufficient damage with Squall's limit break to make sure that you one-shot him each time, either by putting him into repair status or by killing him whilst he's in repair status. The only other thing to note, of course, is if you're not going to be using the cheats, as I'm not here, that causes the party members to remain in limit status all the time, then you will need to ensure that Squall is currently in critical health. Now, you can do this by the random enemy encounters inside where the save point is in the communication tower, or just make sure if he's in critical health at the end of the boss fight with Elverat at the top of that tower that you do not heal him. However, I strongly recommend that Squall has a strong magic associated, or junctioned rather, with his HP, so that even at critical health he's not exactly low on that stuff. Now, if you want to farm AP off this boss, the best place to do so is on the bridge, and that's because the boss runs back and forth across that bridge repeatedly, so you can take him out as many times as you want. Just keep an eye on that time limit, of course, and intermingle using Renzokuken along with the increased speed that the Remastered edition offers, and as I say, you'll be able to take this guy out plenty of times. Just remember to not actually kill him if you're farming AP. Just use 2 or 3 Renzokukens to knock him down and then take him out before he fully recovers, at which point he'll stand up. And then when you knock him down again, you can escape immediately. However, I mentioned as well that you may not want to farm his AP, and the reason for that is you're actually about to get another Guardian Force known as Diablos in the very near future, and you're going to want to farm abilities on Diablos. And that means that when you do Diablos farming, you're going to level up or learn abilities on your other Guardian Forces anyhow. And because of that, as I say, it may not be worth your time, even though it's not going to take a lot of time, but it still may not be worth farming abilities for those 4 Guardian Forces right at this moment. However, whether or not you farm this guy, it is possible to defeat it, and outside of the fact that you do not get to witness a pretty awesome cutscene if you escape every battle where Quistis shoots this spider to pieces, it's actually advantageous to you to defeat this spider if you're able to do so, because he has a chance of dropping a pretty useful item. Now, he does have multiple items on his drop table, and if there's a specific item that you're after from him, you will unfortunately have to keep reloading a previous save and battling him again until he drops it. In particular, one item that many people would like to get is the Force Armlet, and the reason for that is the Force Armlet can be used to help you attain Rinoa's ultimate weapon on disc 1 a little bit later on. However, I don't necessarily advise farming for the Force Armlet, as you will have a much easier time farming for everything she needs for her ultimate weapon a little bit later on disc 2. Incidentally, if you do plan on defeating the spider boss, then the best place to do so is actually in the screen after this one where I'm at now. This is where I defeated it, but I would recommend going to the following screen. And the reason for that is once the spider has been defeated, then random enemy encounters are going to return to this area until you reach back at the ship. Now, you can avoid those random enemy encounters by taking the spider out in the next area. One thing to note, however, that it's important if you're trying to get a good score on the seed exam that you rescue the dog. Now, you saw me speak to the dog on the previous screen, and that's because it moves the dog out of the way so it isn't killed by the spider as it comes racing past. Now, if you've defeated the spider before reaching that area where the dog is waiting at the square, then you don't need to engage with the dog at all. It won't affect your score. But if you're following my recommendation and defeating the spider on the last screen before meeting up with Quistis at the ship, then that's just something to consider. Now, the strategy for actually defeating the boss is very similar to the strategy for farming him, apart from the fact we're not going to escape, we're going to continue to unleash Renzokukens on him repeatedly. So each time he starts to repair, where it says he's 20% repaired, 40%, etc., we need to get him to stand up again in order to prevent him from healing. This means we need to cast Renzokuken, try and get a finisher if possible, and get him to stand up before he finishes that repair. We need to do that multiple times, and eventually the boss will fall because he will not have recovered any health. In total then, this boss has around 5,000 health points, a little bit more than that depending on your level, but not a whole lot more. He only ranges in level from 1 to 11, and so long as you prevent him from healing, he will never have any more than that health in each battle. But bear in mind, if he does heal, if you do not prevent him from repairing to full, then you will have to continue on battling him from full health. So really try and get those Renzokukens off and prevent him from doing so. If you do not have Tornado Magic junction to your strength stat, then the only other realistic way to kill this guy is to use Quetzalcoatl multiple times. So if you're going to follow that strategy, I wouldn't recommend farming AP from him. It would be too slow of a process, but you can certainly defeat him for that item and at least 50 AP. Now, in order to do that, you'll want to have Quetzalcoatl have many of the Summon Plus abilities maxed out, so that you can have those just, you know, increasing his damage, and make sure you have the boost ability. And Quetzalcoatl will do a lot of damage every time you cast that Guardian Force, enough to take this guy down to his knees and then defeat him before he's healed on the next cast. But if you follow these strategies, I'm sure you'll find you'll be able to defeat him without too much trouble at all. The game does expect you to escape from the battles, and by not doing so, you are going to forfeit that awesome cutscene with Quistis where she just shatters this thing to smithereens. It is incredible. You can check it out on YouTube though, I suppose. But it is worth at least killing him in my view, because you do get a nice item and 50 AP. Though I don't necessarily think it's worth farming him, as I say, because we are going to get Diablos later on, who we can't get at this stage unfortunately, and we're going to have to farm at that point anyhow. May as well get all 5 Guardian Forces learning abilities at once. Anyhow folks, looks like the Spider has been defeated. There's not much left of him. We've blasted him to smithereens. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope that the guide was helpful for you. If it was, please don't forget to leave a like to show your support, and let me know in the comment section if you defeat the X-ATM092. I believe I got that right, and congratulations if you do. Thanks for stopping by. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye. Well, thank you so much for stopping by, checking out the video today. Now, perhaps you might consider becoming a YouTube channel member. Doing so not only supports me as a creator, but it also bestows upon you certain cool bonuses, such as the ability to have your name stand out in YouTube comments and live stream chat, as well as having yourself credited in every future upload that I do. If that sounds interesting, check out the join button, which you can find just below if watching on PC.